I remember spending that weekend binge watching Tiger King, 8 or 10 episodes, whatever that show was, all in a matter of 2 days, when normally that would be a weekend filled with family and friends.
I was with family that night, and we were all just exchanging news alerts that we were getting on our phones. It's like, oh, great, the NBA season's over? Tom Hanks has it? Wait, we have to worry about Tom Hanks now?
Yeah, right? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jam. It is the 1-year anniversary of the COVID pandemic officially being labeled a pandemic. Obviously, the country and the world have been dealing with it for a couple of weeks, but it was the day that changed everything a year ago today, and here we still are. So, Felicia,
yes!
Amy, and I will be here with you all night and forever, baby. But we're also going to have more stories from our staff, because I think everyone has that unique perspective, right? That moment where they know, oh my, this is trouble. And for me, it was a year ago tonight. I was working at the Blackhawks game, as I often do, and we walk in the building, and there was rumors that the NCAA tournament was going to be stopped, March Madness, and we thought, okay. But then we went into the stadium with 20,000 other people, and it was at that game when all of us, all of a sudden, I'm sure many experiences are similar, buzzing phones, looking. The Hawks won the game. They played great. I could see around the whole stadium lighted up faces from people just looking at their phones as all the news that Brian, our director, just mentioned poured on through. It was so eerie being in that building that night.
I remember you talking about the next morning, John, and actually my husband told me it that night when that happened too, and I was still like, I don't know. I don't think they're going to go this far. I was kind of still in denial at that point because nothing else in my life had changed. We went to work the next morning. The day was kind of normal. Then the rest of the day was not normal. And then the weekend, my kid's school got canceled. And then it started to settle in. And I was like, okay, well, it's a normal day until it's not. And just kept kind of going through the motions.
Yeah. We had no idea how serious this entire thing was. And I mean, I know you guys were here. I was in a whole vacation bubble in South Africa. I was with my family. This is where I had, we were at a winery in South Africa, Stellenbosch area. And beautiful. And I remember getting cell phone service there because I was operating off of Wi-Fi. And I was like, oh, this looks crazy, but nonetheless, here I am. So I'm not going to let the little coronavirus get in the way of this vacation. That was a mindset.
Yes.
We
were worried you weren't going to get home, Felicia. We were worried that you weren't going to be able to make it to the airport.
We flew through London, and London, the UK, was the only place that President Trump had not completely shut down and banned from travel. And in retrospect, I think we would have been okay with American passports, but it was still scary because you don't know. And by the end of your vacation, you've used up all your vacation money. So I was like, well, who's going to pay for part 2 of the vacation? But nonetheless,
she would have still been there by that mountain drinking that wine a year later if she hadn't gotten back.
Yes. But before we move on, I would like to take this opportunity to re-gift to you guys the gifts that I got for you in South Africa. So, John, I got you something. Okay, Amy, I have some earrings for you, and I have a necklace. I have a bracelet that was hand beaded there, and I got something for Ken. He doesn't work here anymore. Let me see. I also got something. They don't work here anymore. Okay, so I got a few other gifts. I'll re-gift them to the new people that filled their places.
I love it. That's amazing.
So
I forgot we get presents.
Crossed, you guys will get this by March 11th, 2022. Fingers crossed, okay?
I also just want to mention that the people that don't work at our station anymore went on to their own things. They were not, no one was let go or anything like that. Our company has been amazing during this entire thing. I just want to lay that out there. Okay, let's move on as we continue to remember this day. And it's a big day, obviously, for COVID news and things beyond that. President Biden's going to make his first primetime address as president tonight to talk about the 1-year anniversary of the official start to the pandemic. Earlier today, he signed the $1.9 trillion COVID relief package. It's actually a day sooner than he expected. An official signing celebration will be held tomorrow. Meanwhile, relief checks could hit bank accounts for direct deposit sometime this weekend. An interesting little nugget about COVID relief is obviously the cities and states are getting a lot of this money. A lot of it is directed towards very specific things, but the city, of course, has some leeway of what they can use. And one alderman, Gilbert Villegas, has an interesting plan for the city's, some of it, COVID relief money, $30 million he wants to use as a test pilot program for universal basic income, basically picking 5,000 of the city's neediest families and giving them $500 no string attached. Not a monthly thing, just a one-time payment, and seeing how that works. Because universal basic income is something people talk about. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I like the idea. My concern is the one-time thing. Are we going to see a difference if it's only one time? Like, if it's a pilot, I would think they would need to do it over several months to see what kind of difference it could make. One time alone, while it's helpful and wonderful, are we going to see a difference?
Helpful and wonderful. $500. I don't see how that changes. That's a lot of people's rent. So I just don't know how that would, as Amy said, make a difference. Well, I think we need more details for sure. It's better than nothing, I guess. Right. But it seems like there's some other systemic issues that need to be fixed before we just kind of throw cash at an issue.
Well, the universal basic income thing is something I always was like, no, not gonna. And I did a lot more reading into it. It's really interesting how that money does get spent. You mentioned rent, Felicia. Just imagine if you were able to pay rent and then you got to worry about other things. Like, it's not enough money to completely live your life on, right? To just be what people would consider dependent on the government. You still obviously have the motivation to work and to earn money. But it helps out in so many ways that then, Felicia, addresses a lot of those systemic issues you're talking about. Less education, less quality of food. People have shown that universal basic incomes allows them to, narrow that gap of food insecurity, buy healthier meals, which obviously leads to better healthcare in longer terms. It's interesting. I don't know if I'm all for, but a little pilot program, it is related to COVID in many ways. Sure.
Yeah. What if in order to get that money, you had to get a COVID vaccine?
Ooh.
I mean, I'm fine with that, but I'm sure someone's going to raise it. Well, I'm sure there's religious exceptions, which are, for a lot of people legit and all those sorts of things. So I don't want to make that blanket statement, but that is an interesting little way to let's
an
do
incentive for some of the neediest communities out there. The incentive of we're keeping you safe, and then of course you get this money. It's just a thought, something to put on the table. Makes it interesting.
Yeah, I like that. All right, well, let's continue on for a little more Chicago in 60. Be extra careful about the pandemic this St. Patty's Day weekend. City investigators will be upping their game. City leaders are teaming up with CPD officers to target events at commercial and residential gatherings that are not following COVID protocols. So be careful. Don't have a big party at your house. Former President Barack Obama spoke with CPS students today about his book, A Promised Land. Obama gave the students advice on everything from politics to dealing with tough situations. And hey, good news. Expect to see the 57th Street Art Fair with live people this summer. All right, maybe, just maybe. That is, if the city lifts its ban on event permits, which is set to expire end of this month. The 57th Street Fair is scheduled for June 5th and 6th. Hopefully, if what we hear from the president tonight is true and that states will be mandated to make the vaccination available to everyone by May 1st, more of those things will happen.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that.
Yeah. Something outside. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Okay. 57th Street. That's in my neighborhood. So I would certainly look forward to that. Just getting out there, all the food, the art, the fair.
The smells, the sounds.
Sweaty people.
Bring it on.
Ooh, love the sweaty people. All right, Wisconsin State Police are sharing a photo of a recent traffic stop, and it's making everyone, a little shocked. They found the driver sitting on a camping chair. I think that's snow on the bottom, I assume.
We hope.
Of the water kind. The vehicle had been pulled over for an equipment violation. You don't say. Turns out you can't do that, people.
I don't know why. So it's so funny. When I saw this story, it made me laugh because when I graduated college, right out of college, I got a job working for a TV station in Reno, Nevada. So I went to school in Southern Illinois and had to drive to Nevada. Came home, got all my stuff in a Ryder truck, and me, my mom, and dad headed for Nevada. But it was a bucket seat truck, so there was only 2 seats in the front. So we tied my mom in a lawn chair in between them, and she had to ride like this in a lawn chair the whole way to Reno.
That's so good. Oh, so I saw the story, and it immediately reminded me of this classic scene.
Now, you got no outside mirror.
No, we lost that.
You have no functioning gauges.
No, not a one. However, the radio still works. Funny as that may seem, with all this mess, that the radio is the only thing that's really working good, and it's as clear as a bell. Don't ask me how.
I love that movie.
And automobiles,
So,
the
here's
legend.
I love that. So when you take the seats out, though, why and where did they go? Where are the seats to this car? We got a lot of questions here.
Maybe a squirrel had gotten into it and ate it up, and they were no longer of use. I don't know. Felicia.
Maybe the
Why don't you
guy's
go up
really
to Wisconsin,
tall?
do some investigating.
And it's back.
Yeah, or he wanted a place for his beer. It is Wisconsin, so
And it wasn't one of those
Wisconsin once.
cars with a cup holder.
that's a fair point.
I went to Wisconsin once.
What?
That's the end of the story.
I love
the end of the
Wisconsin.
story. I've been there once.
All right.
That's the end.
All right, we're going to be right back, folks. After the break, World News Tonight anchor Linsey Davis joins us to talk about covering the insurrection while raising a young boy. We'll be right back.
Journalist Linsey Davis is making history as she takes the weekend chair of ABC's World News Tonight. For Women's History Month, she shares how being a woman of color is her superpower.
And as you might imagine, all the attention in Washington has overshadowed what is truly one of the darkest times in American history.
You being a Black woman in the media covering the news, how do you build yourself back up to go out there and present yourself another day? Like, what's going on in your head as you continue to take care of yourself and be a good journalist?
Oh, that I actually thought of as an advantage because, you know, I think that the more perspectives that you have at the table, I'm reminded of Shirley Chisholm, who said, you know, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And I think that being able to have this experience, personal experience that I'm able to bring, it makes for a richer conversation. We're allowed to really explore and talk more in depth about the nuance of race. So in that scenario, this summer. I felt like it was value added, right? The more crowded that table is, it's going to lend itself to a richer conversation, and hopefully, there was a moment during the summer where it was really a pronounced. A moment that was kind of seared in my mind of a protester, and it was an older white male, and he had a sign that said, "I finally get it." And I just thought that having people of all different races and genders and ages really having this conversation continues even now to afford us the opportunity to all get it collectively. I don't know that we all have, and I think that was clearly, the kind of a flashpoint on January 6th, for example, of a moment that's like, yeah, no, we still have so far to go.
What do you feel is different about now? Or perhaps do you feel a lot is still unchanged?
I saw you recently did an interview with Carol Simpson, sitting in a chair that she sat in for a very, very long time. And she talked about racism, sexism, and ageism in her career. Do you find as a woman now in that position that you're faced with any of those still?
I have to say that I haven't experienced it in any way to the magnitude that Carol Simpson and others who went before us have faced. And I feel like I have always just kind of put my head down and tried to do hard work and produce the best work, and that has fortunately been rewarded in a lot of ways. But that's not to say that I haven't experienced some. But again, it was not so overt.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What are you thinking as you get ready to take your seat for the weekend on World News Tonight? What's going through your mind, especially after the last 4 years that we just had, people attacking journalists, public officials attacking journalists? What's going through your mind?
Just make sure that we are being fair, that we are being accurate, that people feel that they can trust me to present the news in an unbiased way, and that it's going to be an accurate depiction of what's really happening. And hopefully that we're going to kind of reach to the far corners and not just do the kind of mainstream stories that you're used to kind of seeing how the sausage is made regularly, but kind of bring in some conversation that really applies to people's understanding of just society today.
Linsey Davis sharing her perspective. You can follow her on social media and keep up with all of her passion projects as well. Amy?
All right, some news you need to know right now. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin is facing third-degree murder charges in the death of George Floyd. The judge today allowed the charge to be added to the list with second-degree murder and manslaughter charges. Uber and Lyft have announced a partnership to share safety information about drivers and delivery people. That information includes anyone deactivated from a platform for anything from sexual offenses to physical assaults. And calls for New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's resignation are getting louder after a sixth allegation of sexual harassment was made. The names of several New York Democrats are already being tossed around to replace him. However, no one has officially commented. And here's a look at your 3-day forecast brought to you by United Auto Insurance. Get your free quote, call, or click today. John.
What, do I need to go get my weather Emmy to do the weather here on this show of ours? Like, what are we doing?
Hey, just you read the teas, okay? Fall in line.
I just went, the box told me to.
This summer's Tokyo Olympics may have a little taste of Chicago. That's coming up in sports after this.
And once they shut down March Madness, once they said, you know what, this whole billion-dollar enterprise that we have been hyped for and we make so much money off of is not going to happen this year, that's when I knew this is real.
I remember getting the text that we would be locking down in our homes and the office would be closed. And I didn't really think anything much, just yay, more time at home with the family, aka my cats. You want me to go back to work, baby? You don't care. You're just happy I feed you. Yeah.
I love Alicia, and I love that she loves her cats, but I just felt like that cat was going to be like, girl,
Right, I'm gonna eat your face.
Right.
Get back to work. You know, it's always important to, as I said yesterday, live your truth, but commit to the bit. Like if you're going to do it well. You know what I wonder, honestly, is now that we've done a year of this, how many years is it going to take for us not to forget what happened, but for that to feel like a blip on the radar? Like how long until you just feel normal again? I don't think that long. I think we're used to just getting back to things.
I think within a year I think within 6 months we'll feel normal again. But within a year we'll be like, was that a whole year ago?
Yes.
Well, I cannot wait to sit on my porch with lemonade and say, back in my day, we had to wear masks. I cannot wait.
Me too.
Your porch in the suburbs with your many children, Felicia.
Yep.
Yes.
And
Yes.
City Cooks. Yeah. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay. It is time for sports. Let's get into it. We might see a bit of Chicago at the Tokyo Olympics this summer. Chicago Fire player Mauricio Pineda is on the men's soccer roster to compete to qualify for the Summer Games. U.S. men's soccer hasn't qualified since the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. Maybe this is the year.
Maybe this is it. Although, isn't there been questions about Tokyo 2020 is not going to happen, but like, are there questions about moving it again?
So it's going to happen this summer, still alleged. They just might
so
not
2021
have fans from outside of Japan, and some countries are still considering whether or not they're going to for sure send their athletes. So it's looking good that the games will happen. They just might not. Okay. We can't go. So.
Thank goodness for the TV. Okay. Duke basketball. Ooh, it's canceled the rest of its season right before the NCAA tournament after someone involved with the team tested positive for COVID. Get this, talk about worst timing ever. It's the first positive case Duke's program has had all season. Oh, crushing.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that it's that they got out of the ACC tournament and they would have needed to have won that to get to it. So they didn't officially say, no matter what, we're done. We're just out of that game. Yeah, so their chances of making the tournament are out. I will say, Illinois is so good at basketball this year, and like a lot of other people are really excited about their teams. But imagine this is like a warning to every other team that's still competing out there. You got to be tight with the protocols and everything, because one person getting sick could doom your whole season that you worked so hard for.
Right.
So true. Good point.
Don't do it, Illinois. All right, Miami Heat player. Oh my, Myers Leonard has been in some real stuff. He's been fined $50,000 for calling someone an anti-Semitic slur. And I listened to it, and it was hard. It wasn't like a little slip of the tongue. It was not good. It happened during a Twitch stream earlier this week, and a few minutes later, he got a phone call, I can imagine, and judging by his face, as you can see here, he's like, uh-oh, yeah. The person on the other side was already trying to do some damage control. The Heat suspended him for 1 week. He's banned from Twitch, and as we always say, hope this is a learning experience. Wish we didn't have to learn these things, not to say those words, but sometimes people need a reminder.
It's funny to me that people even have that in their vocabulary, that would be something they'd slip on. Like, the words we're not supposed to say, they're just not in my vocabulary. It's not something, I mean, I've dropped some bombs, but they're not,
Yes, racial.
Inappropriate to any other ones but my children.
Also, I mean, and this sounds very self-righteous, and I don't mean for it to, but try to be a nice person and just not call anybody any names. Like
that.
Just
well, that was not very self-righteous, Felicia. Felicia, I've heard you say some self-righteous things. That wasn't. You did not even crack the top 20 in the kindest way possible.
Also for Twitch, what is that streams like video games or something and music and whatever people want to stream?
Gotta be careful.
Got to be careful.
We'll be right back. Sorry, Felicia, I love you. I interrupt. I'm sorry.
My roommates and I went out to dinner. It was what we were calling the Last Supper. I know, looking back, we should not have gone out. But it was in Topo Gigio when we got the notification that restaurants and bars were closing the following day. And we all shared this look and we were like, we gotta get out of here right now.
I started working at The Jam as a producer in March of 2020, and I remember a certain red-headed host saying, "Can we please stop talking about this coronavirus stuff? It's never going to be a big deal." Well, a year later, I'm working at my standing desk in my closet.
John, you said that?
Oh, I think it was the other redheaded host we have here that spent a couple of weeks being like, people need to calm down. It's just like the cold.
No, it was like the flu. I was like,
before I left on vacation, she was saying that.
And I was saying that because I'm like, listen, people don't care about the flu and how many hundreds of thousands of people die of the flu every year, and they don't get the vaccines. And so what, so I was. And granted, I was not, well, we didn't know enough then, right?
We didn't
I
know.
was being
We didn't know as much as we knew.
Right.
And honestly, you were making good points. Anytime it was like wash your hands, you're like, you should always wash your hands, people.
Right. So.
You were making the point that it wasn't to be taken seriously, just that we didn't quite know exactly how it spread. I mean, think about it. We didn't know how it spread. We didn't know it spread through the air for months. So poor Krista out of the bars. No surprise there. Okay.
Poor Lily in her closet. Okay. Since we're talking about the COVID virus,
Senator I spent a lot of time in the closet, Lily. It's okay. Come on out of there.
So many things I can say. All right.
Sorry.
Senator Tammy Duckworth is one of a handful of legislators trying to get the CDC to ramp up its research of the COVID vaccine on pregnant women to make sure that they could have much more access. This is interesting because also a new survey is coming out showing that 70% of people working from home think that the vaccine should be required by everybody before they return to their offices. I mean, would you guys be afraid to go to work? I know Felicia's already got hers. John, are you going to work with or without it, or what are you thinking?
It depends, and like our work has been obviously so very careful about this. It would depend on what the situation is. Like I imagine, and they've let us know, and I'm sure other people out there, your workforce hopefully is doing a similar thing. It'll be a few people at a time in bigger rooms and shifts or whatever it is. Yeah, I'm nervous to do just about anything until I get the vaccine.
So I'm vaccinated, and we'll talk about that later, but I'm vaccinated and I don't want to run into a room full of unknowns or full of, COVID people. I still want everyone to be safe. So I think it's just going to take a little bit more time. Why are you making that face, John?
Did you call them unknowns or COVID?
Well, because we don't know their status. I'm saying their status is unknown. We don't know if you have it or if you don't have it. I don't want to be in a room like that.
That's
I'm sorry.
Totally
it is not pick on Felicia Day, even though it seems like it is. I'm sorry, Felicia.
Seems like it's pick on Felicia Day.
I'm just mad that you got your vacation and before this all started. That's what I'm really mad about a year ago.
I did. Yeah. I'm very, very lucky. And I will say I feel very privileged and lucky to be able to get this vaccine. And I don't even think I realized it as I was getting it because I almost didn't get it. I was afraid and I wasn't sure what it meant and everything. And so, but I started this process. I'm just really grateful. That's all.
Good for you, girl.
For sure. Okay, guys, I am reading Hollywood headlines tonight. So that's something. Let's see if I know any of these people. Matthew McConaughey says he is seriously running for, I do know that one, yes. Says he's seriously thinking about running for governor of Texas. It's where he's from. He said on a podcast that he, quote, thinks he has some things to teach and share, which sounds very governor-like.
I love him.
I do too.
I love it. That's all I really have to say.
Right.
Like, as long as I get more Matthew McConaughey, he's probably going to be so charismatic. Everyone will vote for him. Like, it's okay with me.
If Jesse the Body Ventura can do it, Matthew McConaughey can.
If Arnold Schwarzenegger can do it, Matthew McConaughey can do it.
Right.
You know where I'm going. If Donald Trump can do it. All right.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Prince Williams actually took a few questions from the press today. He says he hasn't spoken to Prince Harry yet since Sunday night's bombshell interview, and he says that my family isn't racist. He said his family isn't racist. Mine also isn't, but he said his family isn't. Sorry. But I can't believe they haven't talked. I know they have a rocky relationship, but how do you not pick up the phone and call your brother after that airs?
Yep.
I think it's different in people who have different families than you do. John, you're obviously very close to your brothers.
Right.
So, I mean, if you have a falling out and you guys are not connected and then something else comes out on top of the falling out, that just makes you a little bit more estranged. She's not going to run for the phone and be like, hey, dude, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
It's hard.
You're right. I know.
It's hard for me to wrap my head around. I think that's what John's saying too. Like
Me
it
too.
just doesn't make sense. I will say to the Queen statement that said they were going to handle this privately as a family. Well, clearly they're not acting like a family right now. And I feel like,
Right?
especially the taxpayers who make their life possible, I think they owe it to everyone to address something like this because, again, another opportunity where they could set the country up for a progressive move forward. It's another opportunity that they're missing out on.
So true. Two more quick headlines here. Sharon Osbourne is standing by her support of Piers Morgan. She told the View audience that she doesn't agree with him, but supports him and freedom of speech and that he is her friend. I know that's an awkward position to be in too. Like you like your friend,
Yeah.
you want to give him support. That's fine. I know that doesn't bother me. And Johnny Depp's movie about Tupac and Biggie. I know everyone in this list so far is finally
Yay!
coming. So a new trailer for the film City of Lies dropped this week. It's scheduled for theaters on March 18th. I don't know much about the story. I know there's a lot of who knows what happened. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I really like this one. And I still like Johnny Depp as an actor, even though he's had some personal troubles as of late.
Yeah.
Sure
we have to see, I have to see who else is behind this just because typically biopics that don't include the family don't go well. So I just really hope the family of these two rap stars are behind them. Side note, when I was in South Africa, a South African asked me, he was like, is Tupac really dead? And I was like, well, I can't really answer the question because I didn't see him go, I don't know. So he was so serious. He was like, did it really happen? And I felt like it was because we're Black Americans. He was like, no, really, tell me.
Come on, you can tell me.
Right. He'd just pass right by me. He'd be like, I ain't asking him. I'm asking her.
No, you don't know. I know. You don't know. Interesting. Okay, moving on. Wild nostalgia is the best way to describe this next story, okay? During lockdown, a man put a video store in his basement. According to his wife in a now viral TikTok video, her husband needed something to do in the pandemic. There's the outside of the door in the basement. She's going to walk in. So when the local video store shut down in his neighborhood, he was able to get the shelving and spent the next several months making his own video store. You'll find VHSs, DVDs, Blu-rays, an entire viewing room with a couple of recliners. It's like the full shebang. Wild and nostalgic.
And what you're leaving out is the fact that it has a porn section, which it has a porn section. It has recliners and a viewing room. What?
Can I tell you a secret? I used to always, so like Blockbuster, I never really liked to go to. I love to go to Family Video because they had that adult section. And I would just be like, now what's on in here? I'd like wait for my dad to like look the other way and I'd just like run in there really quickly. And my mom found out and she's like, it's Family Video, not how to make a family video, Jonathan. So.
Wow, that sounds like that actually happened.
Oh, it sure did. It sure did. But I like the guy with the hobby. I think that's fun.
I like it too.
I miss those days.
Oh, right. No, I don't. I like hitting a button going, I can watch anything in the world right now. That's way better. Anything. High school athletes, boy, they have been missing out on so much during COVID-19. But this weekend, the best hoops teams in the area got a chance to crown a champion. We're going to chat with the creator of the tournament after this. Boy, our student athletes have had a difficult time during this pandemic, being able to play their sports at all, find great competition. But luckily this weekend, a great basketball tournament coming up. Here to chat about it is one of the creators of that tournament, longtime basketball coach at Fenwick, New Trier, Rick Malnati. What a great opportunity for these kids. They just can't wait, I bet.
Yeah, I think especially since last year, they never had the opportunity to finish a season. Giving them a chance. It's not exactly a state tournament, but it's the next best thing. So we're really looking forward to it.
I imagine, you coached young men for a long time. This is great for them to be on the court again.
Well, for sure. And, when I think of my life, the trajectory of my life would have changed if I didn't have a chance to play my senior year in high school. So I'm glad that the IHSA was allowed the kids to play. And at least, normally the season's a 4-month marathon. This year, it's more like a 5-week sprint. So we're excited.
Yeah, packing them all in. Okay, so talk us through the Clash of Champions. I know we got a lot of great teams ready for this.
Yeah, the Tripoli Clash of Champions is going to take place this Friday and Saturday. It's kind of a format, if you can remember what the old state tournament was like, where there were 8 teams that would get down to Peoria or to Champaign, and they would play quarterfinals, four games. And then the following day, Saturday, there were 2 games early in the day, followed by a championship game at night. So that's the same format we chose to go with here. And we got, out of the 8 teams, 4 teams are ranked 1 through 4, and then the others are all in the top 20. So we got a great collection of teams. And then there were some teams, because of COVID, they were unable to participate because they either were out of the 30-mile rule that the IHSA put in, or that their conference only allowed them to play conference games. So we got a great group of teams. We're represented well from not only the Catholic League, the suburbs, but also Chicago Public. And it's, for any basketball fan that hasn't been able to get out to a game, it's a great chance to kind of see the culmination of a 5-week season.
And I just know that, not only for them, the ability to play and obviously, streamed and other people can watch, it's great to showcase these athletes, right, who maybe some of them missed the last half of their junior year, the end of their junior year. Now it's their senior year, too. This is their chance to shine.
Yeah, it's their chance to kind of get an ending. A lot of conferences are, you win the conference championship, but I think the most memories made when you're in high school happen at the end of the year in the state tournament or in a Christmas tournament or something. So I think this is going to give them the ending that they couldn't have had otherwise. So I know the teams are really looking forward to playing. And unfortunately, we can only have 8 teams, but at least for those 8 teams, they're going to get a taste of what it would be like to be, in a state tournament-like situation.
And we want people to be able to watch from home, and they're going to be able to do so, right?
Yeah, No Fans in the Stands TV is going to live stream the games on a $5 pay-per-view, so you can watch 4 games for $5. Those games start at 1:00 on Friday, so we got games at 1, 3, 5, and 7. And then on Saturday, the games are actually on ESPN3 with a couple local guys doing the announcing, Jay Hood and Cap from the morning show on ESPN. So, and those guys are great high school fans. They're Chicago guys, and they'll have a great opportunity to, hopefully get the 4 best teams in the Chicagoland area and finish up really strong.
Rick, thanks for stopping by today. This is great for the students. It's awesome that you helped create this. And let's put the information up on the screen where people can be a part of that. We mentioned the YouTube page stream there, as well as ESPN3 on Saturday for the semis and the finals.
All right, some other news you need to know. Mississippi's governor today signed a law banning transgender athletes from competing in women and girls sports. You may remember in January, President Biden issued an executive order protecting transgender girls' ability to compete on sports teams. Governor Tate Reeves says his legislation, quote, will protect young girls from being forced to compete against biological males. It's the first state in the U.S. to do so.
Yeah, there's other states that this is going through their legislatures right now. Arkansas is debating the same thing.
20.
Here's the thing, is that the scope of the problem, I'm not saying it's a problem, I'm saying what they identify as the problem, is like nil, right? Like this is virtue
Right.
signaling to their base because there are very few. In fact, in Mississippi, there's not a single documented case of a transgender girl trying to play on a girls' basketball team or any girls'
Right.
sport. So these are problems that are kind of being existed out of thin air. Having said all that, this is like the one area where I differ from a lot of other folks, wonderful people in the LGBTQ community, where I don't know where I fall on this one. It's hard, right? Because, of course, if you identify as a girl and you don't want to be bullied by your peers, one way to do that is to join a team of people that you feel comfortable around, and that's going to help you grow, develop, and be safe. At the same time, people take sports really seriously, and biological males may have an advantage over certain sports. And is that fair? I don't know.
I feel like it's not, but I mean, I feel like where people are also afraid to say that and afraid to have this conversation because everybody wants to be all inclusive these days, which I think is a great thing, a beautiful thing. I'm torn like you are, John. I will say I don't want this, bill to certainly not be rooted in fear. I remember reporting on the bathroom bill in North Carolina that was a huge thing a few years back, and they were saying how we're concerned about things going on in the bathroom and all this, that, and the third. And it's like, well, we already have laws to protect against stuff like that.
Yeah.
We need to be talking about the actual issue here and what is affecting the community, what is actually affecting the community. To your point, John, is this an issue or a non-issue? What you're saying about competing in sports, I'm torn about that.
Well, because I remember when a lot of this first came up, so the concern with sports are somebody going to use a boy as a plant on a girl's team to make that girl's team more competitive so that they can succeed. And that was an argument a lot of people were using. To your point, John, I don't think that that's what the case is. And you're talking about what, a dozen cases across the U.S. right now? Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it needs to be looked at on a case-by-case basis too.
This isn't the plot from the 1990s movie Ladybug starring Rodney Dangerfield. Like, this is like, and that's why it's amazing that people in the GOP on the right on this issue, they want federal and state rules. They want their state laws to apply everywhere. Whereas normally with schools, it's all, let the individual schools make these decisions. Let's tackle it on a very small basis.
Point.
I think that's the approach here, where a principal, an athletic advisor, a counselor, someone can be involved to discuss the particular situation, the family. Does this fit? Does this work? What does this do to the competitive nature? And make decisions there, especially like you said, Amy, a dozen cases of the country. I think individual school boards can handle this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said. Okay. Well, coming up, highway speeders, Stacey Dash, and anti-bikini dads. Chill, please. Okay, we are tearing apart and ripping up the worst takes of the day. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Interviewing for a job is already a nerve-wracking process without having to worry about making a first impression over Zoom. Lauren Ward Martin from Cara gives us tips on how to nail virtual interviews and look good while doing it.
When it comes to creating a professional Zoom space in your home, I would say that you want to go for a basic and simple background, something that's not loud and distracting. Amazon, there are other places that you can order professional lights from, but if you're on a budget, then I would just suggest choosing a well-lit area in your home. Natural lighting is key. Some easy Zoom tricks is to make eye contact, be centered, and still have on professional attire.
We are partnering again with Cara and CD1 Price to collect work attire to help Chicagoans get back on their feet. So log on to cw26chicago.com for details on how to donate. We will be right back, but first a look at your 7-day forecast as we head to break. Brought to you by United Auto Insurance. Get your free quote, call or click today.
Okay, one of our favorite segments. Let's get to it. These are the stories that make us say, child, please. Stacey Dash, actress and former Fox News commentator, is now distancing herself from Fox and President Trump. She says supporting the former president has put her in a box that she does not belong in. Girl, you put yourself in that box. And she has some regrets at Fox, okay? She said that she's apologizing, adding that things that she said have been, quote, very arrogant, prideful, and angry. And that's who Stacey was, but that's not who Stacey is now. Stacey's someone who has compassion and empathy. That's her quote, okay? I would say I believe in a second comeback, but I'm not going to hold my breath, okay? This is the same girl. She was a fervent supporter of President Trump. She also said that we don't need a Black History Month anymore because there's no such thing as White History Month. And she also noted that she was not going to judge neo-Nazis. So, not going to judge neo-Nazis because she doesn't know their heart, okay? Child, please. Child, please.
Yeah. And she talks about herself in the first person.
Yes,
right.
For sure.
I'm okay with that.
All right. A Florida man, which you know is enough. Let's just go child, please.
Right.
Child,
please.
Was arrested for driving 120 miles an hour. He was pulled over, and his excuse was that he was listening to a song called Ciento Veinte, which means 120. So that's how fast he was driving. Good thing he wasn't listening to 8675309. Child, please.
Child, please.
Yes.
All right. A woman on Reddit recently brought up a fight with her husband, whom she married 8 years ago and became a family with his then 6-year-old son. Fast forward, the boy is now 14, and the husband, a former Muslim, no longer wants her wearing a 2-piece bathing suit around the teen, saying it was inappropriate and weird. Apparently, it was all fine until that random day the boy turned 14. Child, please. This isn't about the boy, and it's weird that you now have a problem. Rock your body any way you want to, girl.
Rock your body. Hey.
Amen.
Any way you want. I love it.
We got about
Yeah,
45 more seconds. Can you hold that the whole time,
going.
Felicia, or what?
I need some more lyrics. But no, I'm with you on that one. I mean, you know, they talk about trying to over-sexualize women's bodies. Jeez Louise, move on.
Just because he's 14,
Becky,
and that's weird that you're sexualizing your son and your wife.
Yeah, real strange.
Yeah.
Well, happy 1 year anniversary. What's the 1 year anniversary? What do you get someone on the 1 year? Anyone know?
Paper? The paper?
Paper.
Paper.
Well, I want to write "I quit pandemic" on paper for our 1 year
How
anniversary
about-
today.
How about an appointment slip for the vaccine?
There it is.
Oh, that's a nice
That's a good
one.
That's what I want.
We will see you tomorrow for a great Friday show. Have a good night.